All right, so let's begin. Hey, what's up, everybody? How y'all doing? My name is Fitz. I'm the acupuncture physician out of Miami, Florida, and I want to talk about CTE. CTE has been in the news for a while. It's not going anywhere, and I gotta clear up some myths about it. And I'm gonna try my best to explain to y'all exactly what it is and the hope for treatment. Okay, so CTE stands for chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Okay, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. It's just a fancy word that just say basically um, damage, damage done, damage to the head. In this case, the brain. So what happens is that in certain sports like MMA, boxing, NFL, football, even soccer, if you get too many repetitive blows to the head, that can cause a lot of damage. And there's a protein called the tau protein. And because too much hits to the head over, you know, years, months, years, can cause these proteins to build up in certain parts of the brain to clump up. And that's in a nutshell, that's what CTE is. Of course, there's more to it, but I'm not getting too much technical in this video. But I just want to, see what it is. Now the issue it has many issues, but one of the issues with CTE is that you cannot diagnose it when the person is alive. CTE is only diagnosed when the person passes away and then you examine the brain. So as of right now in 2025, there's no way to test for CTE while the person's alive. But as healthcare providers, we can put puzzles together, meaning that yes, we cannot diagnose officially CTE when a person's alive, but we could ask questions, look at their background, and look at symptoms. For instance, if a patient comes in to me and let's say he or she was a former MMA fighter, Muay Thai fighter, a boxer, NFL player, or and then tell me that they have memory loss all of a sudden, or mood changes all of a sudden, or some type of bad thoughts, those could be signs of CTE. So again, we put two and two together. There's no cure for it. There's no way to test it, but we could put two and two together. So if we suspect, we meaning healthcare providers and physicians, if we suspect somebody has CTE, I'm here to tell you there is hope. Hope meaning that I'm an acupuncture physician, and with acupuncture, we can actually help with the symptoms of CTE. The headaches, the mood changes. You know, we can actually help with the symptoms. But what's even more interesting is that there could be a way down the line, if anything, that acupuncture, along with conventional medicine, can actually be able to slow down the progress of CTE. CTE is a debilitating disease. It doesn't get better on its own, it gets worse as time goes by. And I feel bad because these athletes, while they were on top, while they were doing the thing, I'm sure most of them didn't think about life after sports, life after, MMA, life after NFL. And I'm pretty sure all of these athletes want to be able to spend the post-fighting career, the post-sport career, playing with the grandkids, going on vacations and feeling good. But unfortunately, certain combative sports like MMA, Muay Thai, and football, those type of sports, those athletes are more prone to get CTE. What's even more scary is that there's been CTE can start as early as high school, even earlier, and that means kids can form CTE or at least early signs of it. Why then in high school or junior high? That's scary because if they continue playing sports, which they probably will for the most part, then that could occur more damage to the brain. And at a time where, especially kids, the brain is still developing, you can see why it's not a good thing. So what's the answer? You know, we can't ban the sports. The sports are not going to be banned, so we all know that already. But the things we can do to minimize the trauma, the head trauma. For instance, I think some states are doing it now where pee wee football. I think there's no tackling for some cities and states, not not everywhere. So reducing tackling, in kids football games, I think that's a step. For the boxers and May guys and Muay Thai people, reduce the sparring, because yes, the fight is brutal, but we spar more than we actually fight. And if you're sparring constantly hard twice a week, 2 times a week, and for 6 weeks, 8 weeks at a time, that's a lot of head trauma. That's a lot of, even though you have headgear, that can still inflict some damage. So, to all the fighters out there, my advice is to spar less. Spar less. No need to go. When I used to fight, we used to see guys in the gym a lot, just sparring almost every day, and I'm tough. But I get it. But at this point, you got to think about your future. You got to think about your future. Don't think about the moment. Now, what I'm doing as an acupuncture physician, I transitioned from being a fighter to a physician because I like helping people, and I think I'm in a position to help people. That's why I'm working on certain acupuncture techniques, certain acupuncture points, not just needles, but just overall wellness. I use a program. I use a awesome imaging program called AccuGraph System. The AccuGraph system is amazing because it takes about 5 minutes. 5 minutes. I scan my patients with a probe, and then in 5 to 10 minutes, the AccuGraph system gives us a graph of the person's um, channel balance. Okay, in acupuncture or Chinese medicine, it's all about meridians and channels. Channels. For instance, most channels are named after organs. So you have the stomach channel, the lung channel, small intestinal channel. All right, and they're paired up. The lung channel is paired up with the large intestinal channel. Okay, stuff like that. So what's amazing about acupuncture is that certain points are known for doing certain things. For instance, do 26. There's a point right here called do 26. Du 26. This point is good for people who pass out. Believe it or not. Okay, this point is good for people who actually pass out. There's a point between your thumb and your index finger right here. It's called Li4, large intestinal 4. We call it the aspirin point because it does things aspirin does. It's good for pains, good for headaches, good for face, anything in the face. It's the command point of the face. Um, it's good to get the blood flowing. And there's a special point called stomach 36. Now, stomach 36, I'm gonna talk about a lot on my videos because stomach 36, it's an amazing point. There's a saying that the Chinese had thousands of years ago that if you stimulate stomach 36 every day, you live long time. And let me tell you, they were onto something. Research is being done on this point, stomach 36. And let me tell you, what we are finding this point, what this point does is amazing. Yes, it's good for energy. It's good for your, stomach channel or digestive channel. It's good for all that. But did you know that stomach 36 is also good to help modulate our immune system? Also good to help build up red blood cells. But let's go back to the immune system for a minute. Stomach 36, especially when it's done, when acupuncture is done with electrode, where electroacupuncture is done on stomach 36, you even get better results. There there are these cells in the body that's called T regulatory cells, or Tregs for short, Tregs. This was recently found out that these cells, their main job is to oversee our immune system. Let me explain. In a nutshell, if you have a lower amount or dysfunctional regulatory T cells, then you're more prone to have autoimmune disease, inflammation, bad allergies. Right? Now, inversely, if you have too much of those cells, in some cases that can um, make a cancerous tumor grow faster. But that's why in everything in life, everything has to be balanced. So when it comes to regulatory T cells, it has to be balanced. Okay, balance amount. This, it's called TH17 and the T-regs ratio. Okay, yin and yang. And yin is going to be the TH17. Yang is going to be the T regulatory cells. So the good news is, when it comes to CTE, is that, remember earlier I mentioned how too much hits to the head can cause these proteins to build up in the brain called tau proteins. And besides that, that's inflammation happening in general because of constant hits in the head. Remember earlier I just said that people who have low or dysfunctional um, Tregs or regulatory T cells, that can affect CTE. So if we do acupuncture, especially a stomach 36 with electrical acupuncture, that can possibly be able to a way to help athletes with CTE. I am dedicating my life to try to, part of my life to try to help these athletes who potentially have CTE. Okay, CTE is here. It's here. There was a research that was done on NFL players. I think on 111 NFL players who passed away, and 99% of them had CTE. 99% of them had CTE. Look, that is not good. That is not good. There's a player, Hall of Famer, Junior Seau, was an excellent football player. Um, he suspected he had CTE, and he was fighting demons in his head. And unfortunately, he took his life. And I believe he shot himself in the heart so his brain could be used for science. And when the autopsy was done, yes, he had CTE. Um, it's very, very sad. It's very, very sad. I don't know. I talk about this a lot, and the more I think about it, the more I realize that we got to do something. We have to do something. That's why I'm doing my part as an acupuncturist to try to, again, acupuncture can help treat the symptoms of CTE. Okay, and researchers working on ways to actually improve CTE, the condition itself, through acupuncture and also conventional medicine. So that's why I said earlier that there's hope. There's hope. There's hope for athletes out there. Okay, memory loss is also a symptom of CTE, and I know these athletes want to be able to play with their grandkids when they retire. These athletes want to be able to, travel with their spouse. Just enjoy life. It's hard to enjoy life when you have constant headaches or memory lapse, or in some cases Parkinson's. In some cases, Parkinson's can be caused by um, trauma to the head. So, but is not to this video is not to make everything sad. Okay, this video is to let people know that people who are suffering from CTE, to know that there's hope. And I recommend, if you live somewhere with what is acupuncturists around you, go visit them, because they'll be able to work on your symptoms a little bit, right? Um, I mentioned earlier that I was doing a lot of research, and let me tell you something what I found. Give me one second. So, what I found, give me a second, everybody. So, the T regulatory cells that I was talking about and CTE, give me a second. But this is very interesting. Let me just find it here. Okay, so okay, blah, blah, blah. So so what I found out was this, that so TREGS, TREGS or Tregs is short for T regulatory cells. So if I say TREGS, that's what that means. Okay, so Tregs and traumatic brain injury. So research clearly indicates that T regulatory cells play a protective role in acute TBI. So before CTE happens, a traumatic brain injury usually happens first, a TBI. And research is showing that the regulatory T cells played a crucial role in in acute TBI, which is so now they are known to limit neuroinflammation. So remember I mentioned earlier, regulatory cells limit inflammation, period. Okay, but in this case of the brain, neuroinflammation. Okay, which is a key process in TBI pathology. So again, a person gets hit to the head, they have a TBI or traumatic brain injury. Okay, inflammation starts to happen, but regulatory T cells, if you have a good amount of them, it should keep the inflammation low. That's why sometimes people can get. That's why people are different. Meaning that someone can get constant head trauma. This person can get the same thing, but then don't get CTE, and this one does. Could it be the person that gets hit and don't get CTE? Could it be that they have the right amount of regulatory T cells? Right, that's a possibility. So everything boils down to, well, not everything, but a lot of stuff boils down to the regulatory T cells, the T regulatory cells. And let me tell you, it's not just TBI um, or CTE that these cells play a crucial role in. T regulatory cells also play a crucial role in autoimmune disease like MS, lupus, um, Hashimoto's disease, rheumatoid arthritis. Those are autoimmune diseases. Okay, T regulatory cells, if you have enough of them, it's gonna keep those rogue um, immune cells from eating our own body. It So these regulatory T cells overlook our immune system to make sure it's not too high or too low. It's not overactive or underactive. So they play an important role, and it was just discovered recently. There was Nobel Prize won because of this, and so that was a big breakthrough. So anyway, that's all I gotta say right now about CTE. Of course, I'm gonna do more videos about it, but as far as this video go, all right, I'm very excited. I think there's new light, and I think I think it's gonna be okay. All right, so I'll see y'all later.